Guys, so in this video I will be discussing about my own KPMG interview experience. Yes, you heard it right. So is it your dream company to go into one of the big fours? So I am currently working in one of the big four, and I have given interview for another big four, which is KPMG. Okay, so in this video I will be telling you entire rounds what all I have faced. Okay, from round one till round four. Yes, I've given four rounds in this interview, and what all questions has been asked for me from starting till end. Okay, so I'm a software engineer, senior software engineer, I must say, with 6+ years of experience in Java, Spring Boot, microservices. Okay, so this is about me a little bit. So let's jump onto it and see like what all questions have been asked. Okay, so it's generally for experienced candidate, it's not for freshers. Okay, so let's jump onto it and see for 6+ experience what all type of question KPMG asked to Java developers. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen now. So here my slide starts like what all questions have been asked. So there are a lot of things to share with you. So we will be going by step. So next comes first round was hacker rank questions. Okay, so few hacker rank questions was asked to me. So there were around three questions in that, with 105 minutes time was allotted, and two questions was from oops concept. So basically from inheritance. Okay, so you will be given one interface, and there will be two classes that we need to inherit from that interface. Okay, there will be methods that we need to implement, and there will be some extra methods. Okay, so this type of question based on oops concept, it was there. It was not that difficult, it was easy only. Okay, and then the second two questions was from oops concepts, and the third question was from SQL. Okay, so SQL question was simple only. Just it was like employee salary based question. Like you have to calculate, you have to find out how many in the count of employees are there whose salary is greater than 40,000, grouped by department name. Okay, so like that question was there. It was not that difficult, it was easy only. Okay, so let's jump on to the L1 round interview. What was asked? Okay, so L1 round. So first question was this only about project explanation. So any interview if you are going through for Java developer or any software engineer or senior software engineer interview you are giving, so first question comes here, this only. You tell me about your project. What all type of projects have you worked upon? This is very important question. Okay, so here you can simply say like I am working as a senior technical consultant or senior software engineer in this company, and with Spring Boot, microservices, Java. Okay, and I am using CI/CD pipelines for Jenkins deployment, build deployment process. Okay, so what all tech stacks have you worked upon? Okay, so everything you can tell. Okay, and they can cross question also, like how have you implemented. So those all things you can tell, like the business flow and technical work through a little bit, you can tell about that in your project. Then comes Java 8 features you worked upon. So then they will ask you like what all Java 8 features have you worked upon. So there will be like most common questions on streams, optional, to handle null pointer exception, then dates, then completable feature. There are a lot of features, right? So you can tell one by one, and then the interview actually starts from here. Okay, then comes the next question. They ask like what are the Spring and Java versions you are using. Okay, so it's very important to know. Most of the people like they are not much aware about the version they are using in Spring Boot. Okay, so they get stuck over here there. So they may ask you like what Spring version you are using. So if you are telling that I am using Spring version 3.0.x, something like that, 3.0.1 or 3.0.2, then they will ask you like which Java version have you used with this Spring version. So you should be knowing in this, like with Spring 3.0.x version, you need to use Java 17 and above. Okay, so it doesn't support less than Java 17 if you are using Spring Boot 3.0.x. Okay, and if it is Spring 2.0.x, then it will support Java 11. Okay, so this is the important thing that the interviewer will ask you. Okay, so you have to be aware of that. Okay, and then this within this they can ask like what is Spring Boot starter parent. Okay, there is a big Spring Boot starter parent you are using, right? What's the importance of that? Okay, just find it out. Okay, and I want to tell you that it's not for downloading dependencies. It is not used for downloading dependencies. Okay, so now you can search it out. Next, the question asked was authentication versus authorization. This is also a very important question, and this was asked to me. So authentication, you know, right? What is authentication? So some user is who want to enter its username and password and trying to authenticate. Okay, so there will be like authentication mechanism who is going to validate the user's data through its database, Okay, so if username password matches, then authentication is successful. Okay, then comes authorization. So if someone is authenticated to enter inside through username and password, but that person may not be authorized to go through all the URLs available in that particular company. Okay, so let's suppose out of 10, 5 URLs that particular person is authorized to see, but the rest requires permission of higher authority, so their authorization is required. So that type of differences you can tell. Okay, so this was asked to me, authentication versus authorization. Then it was asked like, what is anonymous array? So literally speaking, I wasn't able to answer this question because I was also hearing this for the first time. So anonymous array is something which you are not passing the size here. Okay, so it will be like a new int. Okay, so normally how you are defining array, it's like int a square braces equal to new int, and you are passing the size, and then you are putting the elements based on the size of the array, correct? But in anonymous array, what is there? No, so you are not required to pass the variable name over here. You are not required to pass the size of the array. Nothing is required. Directly you can define like new int 1357. Okay, so what's the importance of that? So you can directly pass this array in the method. Okay, and within that method you can iterate through this array, and you can add them, or you can do multiplication of all, or you can do a number of operations. Okay, but in this, the main advantage is that it is dynamic in nature, where you can pass it. Okay, so you can pass n number of elements over here. There is no foundation like this much an amount of elements should be required. There is no such foundation. You can add n number of elements with this. So here you can see within square braces there is no number given. That means there is no like nothing like we need to pass a specific amount of elements only. It's not required over there. Okay, so this is very important, anonymous array. Then comes solid principle. So principle is nothing. It's like it's asked in almost out of 10, 8 interviewers will ask you. In 8 interviews, you will be getting this question. So you should be thorough with this. What is solid principle? So you should be aware of like what is S. It's single responsibility principle. One class should have only one responsibility. Okay. O means it's open for extension, close for modification. Okay, you can't modify the existing class, rather you can extend that class and you can try your own logic. Okay, then comes a list of substitution, then interface segregation, then dependency inversion. So these things they may ask you in depth, like what is list of substitution, what is interface segregation, that you can go through it. Okay, then come like, have you worked on cloud or not? Okay, so this was the question they can ask you. So yeah, if you have worked on cloud, then you can tell like, yes, we have deployed our project from on-prem to AWS, or from on-prem to Azure. Okay, so if you have worked on that, you can tell. But otherwise, we didn't work on cloud much. Okay, so basically our project was deployed on PCF. So I have told like that only. I have worked on it, but I haven't got chance to deploy our project in cloud. Rather, we have deployed on PCF. Okay, so you can divert it. If you can tell like, if you have done some certification, you can tell that. Otherwise you can tell like, I haven't got chance much to work on cloud, but I'm eager to work on it if I get the opportunity. Like that you can tell. Then the question asks like, how are you securing your REST API? Okay, so this is the most common question. Okay, so if you have worked on REST APIs, then this question will be asked to you. So there are two ways, right, to secure your REST APIs. One is JWT token, one is OAuth. Okay, these two are mainly used. So JWT token only we have used. We haven't made use of OAuth. So if we have made use of OAuth, you can tell to the interviewer. So JWT token, there is 1 minute video present. Okay, so I think I have also prepared that. You can go through that video. So JWT token, they can ask you. It's very important, and everything you need to know. Like 3 parts are there in JWT, right? Header, payload, and signature. What's the importance of that? How data is being transferred using the header data. Okay, so all those things are very important, and you should need to cover that. They will ask you what's the importance of signature. Signature actually validates the user, so that is very important. Then comes this question. Okay, so this question was asked to me, what is the output of this code? So I will not tell you the answer for this. You need to find it out. Okay, so just try it out by yourself. It's very easy. It's not that difficult. You need to think a bit for 30 seconds, 40 seconds. Okay, so try to think about it, try to find out the answer, and then try to execute and match like what's out. Your output is matching with whatever output coming in the IDE. Okay, so going to next question now. Now, this was the next coding question asked to me. The given input string was this W4A3D1E1X6. So basically, it's like a decompression of this string. So W4 means you have to repeat W four times. A3 means you have to repeat A three times. D1 means you have to repeat D one time. E1 means one time. X6 means six times X. So like that you have to print, like W, A, like that you have to print. Okay. I think you have got the question. So the interviewer asked me to solve it in O of n time complexity. Okay. So how will you do that? So main thing is you can run a loop, okay, from zeroth index to nth index. You can find it out like what is the number used, okay. So you have to convert that 4 to int type, okay. And then what you have to do, you have to run a loop again to write n number of times what is w is w. You have to print n number of times, like 4 number of times. You have to run a loop again, but that is O of n squared. But how can you optimize much so that it becomes O of n time complexity? So you have to make use of hash map. So how will you do that? It's for your task. You can do it out by your own. Second question asked was shift all zeros to right or left. Okay, so anything it may ask you. Either they may ask you to shift all zeros to the left or to the right. Okay, so it's also very easy, and that too without using O of n space complexity. Okay, so you can't use another array. You have to use the single existing array only, what is given to you as an input. Okay, so it should be solved in O of one space complexity. Okay, so you can't use another array. This is very important. Okay, so O of n time complexity is possible, but O of one space complexity, it needs to be solved with. So I hope you can do it. It's not that difficult. So going to next question. Next question was asked to me this question: to write one SQL query to fetch the department wise count of the employees, okay, sorted by department in ascending order. So I hope you will get it. Select department name, comma, count of employee.id from this EMP in the joint department on emp.department ID equal to dept.department. Then you have to group by department ID. Then it is already by default sorted in ascending order only. So there is of no use. Okay. So like this, you have to write your query. You will try it out by your own. It's not that difficult. Going to next question, like now level 1 round is finished. Now come to level 2 round. L2 round was there. So actually it's a third round. First round was hacker rank. Second round was L1 round interview. Third round was L2 round interview. So in L2 round, what was asked? Let's share that. First, same question, tech stack used, what are the projects have you worked upon, same question. Then design patterns, yes, this is very important. They may ask you like, what design patterns have you implemented in your project? Not what you know, but what you have implemented. Okay, so mainly people used to implement builder design pattern, factory design pattern, singleton design pattern. These three only mostly people will implement, but you should know some more design patterns as well. Like they may ask you about template design pattern, they may ask about observer design pattern, they may ask you about strategy design pattern. Okay, so don't stick with creational design pattern. They may ask you about the what is behavior design patterns. Okay, so they may ask you about different type of design patterns. So don't stick with creational design pattern. Rather, learn about what are the different type of behavioral design patterns. Okay, what are the different types of structural design pattern, creational design pattern. Those also two examples you know from all. Okay, so this is very important. Then they ask you like, tell me about JVM internal architecture. They have asked me this question. So in JVM internal architecture, everything you know, right? So like PC register, method area, stack, heap area, class loader, and what is class loader? Everything you have to just go through it and revise it. Like these are very basic questions. Then same design patterns. Then and yes, they ask you like, if there is a user defined exception, okay, then how are you going to return it from the controller? Okay, so how you are going to wrap that response value which is coming from the service layer business logic, and along with that you need to wrap your error response. Okay, so let's suppose some business logic is returning a certain type of error, so those you have to wrap it up in a response entity and you have to return it back. So how you can do that? So that also it's very easy. You can create one error bean. You can create like error description, error code, HTTP status code. Okay, and you can set it with the response entity, like return new response entity. You can pass the value which is coming from the business layer, business logic, and then comma HTTP status dot okay. If it is fine, if it is some issue is coming, like some exception is there, you can throw like HTTP status dot 400 bad request or 500 server error. So or else you can create your own status code as well if you want. So like this, that was asked. Next was auto configuration. So this is very important. What is auto configuration? So auto configuration means configuring all the dependencies in the class path. Okay, so you don't need to manually configure by yourself. Rather, it will automatically configure based upon the dependencies in your form. So this is auto configuration, and Spring Boot application contains this auto configuration. Added configuration, added enable auto configuration, and component scan. These are all the part of Spring Boot application. Okay. And along with it, one more type of question they may ask you from annotation, like what's the difference between added component and those stereotype, like added service, added controller, added repository. So you should be very much clear in this, like these are all aliases. The stereotype annotations are just alias of added component. So they are replaceable. So you can replace added repository with added component. You can replace added service with added component. You can replace added service with added repository or vice versa, or you can replace added controller with added repository or vice versa. So you can do anything. It will not create much of an impact. You can try it out. Okay, so because these are just a name. You have heard about SQL alias names, right? Similar to that in Spring Boot also, these are the aliases of added components. So it will not create much impact if you just reverse the things. But component annotation is very much important. You can't skip that. Okay, so next question was this: what is a bean? Okay, so bean is nothing. It's a form of a Java object. Okay, so difference between your own object, Java object, and bean is an object which is instantiated and managed by Spring IOC container. Okay, you are not managing it. Developer is not managing it. Spring IOC container is managing this object. So that's why it is a Spring Bean. Okay, so it's a difference between bean and Spring Bean. Okay, so bean is something which normally developer is like a normal object, but if it is telling about Spring Bean, okay, so in that Spring IOC container manages this bean. So this is also important. So they may trick you around this, so you have to be very much clear in that. Okay, so L2 round got finished, so I was selected in that. So next come L3 round. L3 round was mainly with the director, so they will ask in-depth questions about your project. Okay, so you should be thorough with it. Okay, it was a director round only, so you should be thorough with it. Everything you must be knowing, like what all things have you worked upon in your project, what all part you have implemented, not with team, you only have implemented. Okay, so you should be knowing each and everything with respect to business functionality, not with technical things. I'm telling you, with respect to business functionality, what all components have you implemented, what problems have you solved, and after your development, how fast your application was after your development, and how slow was it before your development. Those type of questions also they can ask you. So you should be thorough with your project. So apart from this, in director round, nothing they will ask you. So main round was first 3 round only. Then after that, HR round will be there, and you will get the offer letter. Okay, so this was the thing. So it will not be that much difficult. You should be thorough and strong with your concepts, with your project details, with your core Java concept. You need to be strong enough, and this all rounds will be a pretty much cakewalk for you. Okay, so it's end, and I hope you have got the concept, all those important Java questions which is asked in me in KPMG. So this was it. So we'll see you in the next video with different set of concepts. So it's Devji Today signing off. Bye bye.